The most complicated is that you can tactically avoid a narcissistic colleague. You can even leave a narcissistic partner if necessary, but narcissistic parents will continue to be a burden for a lifetime, unless you learn to protect yourself. So today, this is the subject of my video. I'm also talking about some key steps which are necessary for the healing process. I'm a healthcare psychologist and therapist, and I make videos on psychology and mental health topics. Some adults are still afraid of narcissistic parents trying to avoid contact with them. Others try to deal with their parents as equals, falling back into old destructive parent-child patterns. As a result, they experience a lot of unpleasant feelings and start to disapprove of themselves. The most damaging is that children of narcissistic parents often do not experience the negative effect that their parents' narcissism has on their self-esteem, the relationships they maintain with others, and their satisfaction with their lives in general. These effects are often hidden and not easy to see. Our defenses, such as denial, projection, and many others, are often developed in childhood, creating false beliefs about ourselves. These defenses are needed in childhood to survive, but they sabotage our adult lives, preventing us from fulfilling our goals and entering into healthy relationships. Often, the childhood fears hide behind these defenses. We are not aware of our psychological defenses, which can be compared to not being aware of our skin. For example, a fear of abandonment can take over and cause a grown-up child to constantly prevent future abandonment. This fear will manifest a replay of abandonment again and again. It's not uncommon that children of narcissistic parents are choosing abusive partners themselves. The person may have been conditioned to adapt to an abusive environment. People are not able to respond to red flags in relationships with others because they have become desensitized or used to them during their developmental years. They try to forget the pain and to focus on the good. The pattern continues. The child who was forced to shut down his feelings remains hostage to the blackmail of his defense mechanisms. Some are struggling with a question like, how can I move on with my life without abandoning my mother? Others remain a long time in denial, saying, my childhood was great. I am not going to find fault with them. They are my parents. Wishing to protect a parent from blaming, children of narcissists are often fallen back into defense or denial. Such conscious rationalizations discourage them from exploring their history. People will avoid pain, in particular fear of being overwhelmed. It's understandable. However, a proverb, no gain without pain, is a very suitable definition of the healing process of a child of a narcissistic parent. Because every difficult change is accompanied by pain. For this reason, the assistance of a qualified therapist is often required. Here are some key steps that can be taken to begin the healing process. As with anything, the first step is awareness, acceptance, and finally, grief. The difficulty of growing up with a narcissistic parent is that the child often doesn't realize that there is anything wrong. When we are growing up, we only know what we are exposed to by our families. This realization is often aided by a friend or partner who is able to recognize the bizarre parenting of the narcissist. Awareness precedes action and is continuous denial. It involves the idea of understanding that this is really happening and it's happening to me. We can't move on until we know what has caused us pain. So, if you are a child of a narcissistic parent, read as much as possible about this subject. Talk to others who are not part of your family. Acceptance can be a difficult process. You might have grown up idolizing your parent. Like I already mentioned, many people are going through denial first before they are able to recognize and accept their losses. Denial is not only an attempt to pretend that the loss does not exist. We are also trying to understand what is happening. When we come to a place of acceptance, it's not that we no longer feel the pain of loss. However, we are no longer resisting reality. It is important to understand and accept that your narcissistic parent won't change. This insight can then help to take some more emotional distance. Grieving is the core of the healing process. Both grieving for the childhood that you didn't get and also grieving for the image of your parent you needed. It is very likely that growing up with a narcissistic parent, a child missed some pretty important developmental milestones. So, working through these developmental milestones, experiencing them and learning is the next step. It includes exploring your own identity, maybe with dating or with choosing what you want to study and what you really want to do with your life. You will probably have to learn to ask for what you need, starting off small. You need also to learn how to identify your emotions, which were kept buried for so long, and also learn how to set healthy boundaries. Setting boundaries to narcissistic parents is one of the main strategies to protect yourself. Boundaries are necessary to reshape parents' toxic behavior. So, if necessary, confront the parent in a brutal way with his or her insensitivity and manipulations. This is a powerful healing step. In fact, this is standing up for yourself by standing up for the small child you once were. Decide what you will tolerate and what you won't. A key component of setting healthy boundaries is learning to say no and doing so. So be clear with what you will and will not tolerate. And stop explaining or defending yourself. Doing so gives your parent a feeling of power and control. After all, you don't have to earn your parents' approval. When you set and stick to a boundary, it may feel wrong, but it may be the right thing for you. You may also be tempted to let things slide if your parent apologizes or appear sincere, but stick to the consequences you decided on. If a narcissist criticized you, you can say something like, "I hear what you are saying and I will think about it." If he or she questions your actions, you can say, "I feel confident I am making the right choice for me." In the case of demanding an explanation, answer, "Let's agree to disagree," but leave when it doesn't feel healthy. You don't have to engage in conversation with your parent on topics that make you uncomfortable. Refuse to continue to interact no matter what he or she does or says. You don't need anyone's permission to exit a destructive interaction, and it's up to you to determine what is healthy for you. The goal is to limit the degree of his or her inappropriate behavior. These steps are very challenging because of loyalty and compassion to your parent. It can also lead to them becoming extremely defensive and angry. You may discover that a number of family or friends are unable to remain supportive to you as you move towards growth and change. If you feel a sense of sabotage from them, it's time for new boundaries and reevaluation of your degree of involvement. Sometimes breaking up with narcissistic toxic parents, removing yourself from narcissistic manipulations is the best way for mental health, especially if their behavior continues to harm on a regular basis. This is a very personal decision indeed, and is based on a person's own needs and specific circumstances. Writing a letter to a narcissistic parent is a helpful tool. Many therapists use it, and it doesn't matter if you decide to send it or not. The last phase of healing is empowerment. This means the reinforcement of positive changes, the development of an ability to reparent the child within, developing empathy to self and others, and standing up for yourself. Developing assertiveness skills is therefore very important, just like ability for self-care and communication. Being raised by a narcissistic parent gives rise to the hardcore belief, "I'm not good enough." Children of narcissistic parents often struggle with so-called codependent behavior in a form of passivity, over-accommodating, internalizing feelings of anger, and tendency toward self-doubt. Quick fixes don't happen in life. Changing the internal false beliefs takes time, and many children of narcissistic parents do need therapy, because healing requires the help of a safe person. So, working with a skilled therapist is often the most effective way to heal completely. A little while, a person can discover new feelings and give them a voice. These are feelings of depression, anger, sorrow, and humiliation. These feelings will definitely vex and wane, but each time we express and release painful feelings, we grow, becoming more confident. Let me know in the comments if this subject speaks to you. I would love for you to support me with a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell, and to share this video with your friends. Thank you for staying with me. See you next time.